Last night, you died when you fell asleep. This morning, you woke up as a different being, with the same memories but composed of different atoms, filled with different thoughts, and you cannot prove that yesterday's you and today's you are the same person. This video won't tell you to know yourself because there is no fixed you to be known. Instead, it will prove that the concept of you itself is an illusion, and that even Descartes' "I think, therefore I am" is insufficient. But first, have you ever looked in a mirror and asked, "Is this really me?" This question changes everything. In the final section, you will fully understand what reality is. Part 1. The Illusion of Identity. Zhuangzi, an ancient Taoist philosopher, dreamt one night that he was a butterfly, feeling completely free as he flew from flower to flower, never doubting that he was a butterfly, and completely forgetting that he was Zhuangzi. But when he awoke, he realized, was he really Zhuangzi? Or was he actually a butterfly imagining itself as Zhuangzi? While this question seems absurd, there's no way to definitively prove its falsity, because all we know is that we currently have the capacity to perceive. But it's impossible to know whether what we perceive actually exists outside of our minds. The distinction between perception and reality. Now consider very carefully. Is the chair you're sitting on, the screen you're looking at, the clouds in the sky, the people passing by, all real? Or are they merely perceptions created by your mind? And more importantly, if these are merely perceptions, does you, who perceive these perceptions, truly exist? Or is this just another perception? Because, as the philosopher Immanuel Kant said, the things we see are not things in themselves. What things are in themselves, and independently of the receptiveness of our senses, remains entirely unknown to us. And this means you will never see the real world, only the version interpreted by your mind. The window metaphor. Imagine your mind as the only window in a closed room. You look out this window, and everything you see passes through it. But here's the problem. There's no way to check if what you see through this window is actually outside because you can't go outside and look. You're always looking through the window. So how can you distinguish whether the world you see through the window is real, or a projection reflected on the window pane? Or perhaps the window is actually a mirror, and you're just looking into your own mind? Matrix reality. In the Matrix film, Morpheus says, "What is reality? How do you define reality?" If you're talking about things you can feel, smell, taste, and see, then reality is nothing more than electrical signals interpreted by your brain. And this isn't just a movie. It's a real philosophical problem because the people living in the Matrix perceive the world like real people. They see traffic. They eat food. They feel pain. But it's all code, simulation, illusion. So how can we prove that our world isn't also a matrix? Perhaps the world you see right now is also just lines of green code, and you'll never know because you're inside the code. Esse est percipi. The philosopher George Berkeley explored this problem to its extreme and developed a philosophy he called subjective idealism. Its fundamental principle was esse est percipi, meaning to be is to be perceived. And this means that if something is not perceived, it does not exist. For example, the books in the cupboard exist when you look at them. But how can you prove their existence when you are not looking at them? You might say, "But my friend might be watching." But that means your friend is also perceiving, so there is still a perception involved. You might say, "I'm going to put up a camera," but the camera is also perceiving. So, When there is no one perceiving, when neither you nor your friend nor the camera is looking, are the books really there? Or do they only exist when someone is looking? We can never know the answer to this question because we cannot experience something that is not perceived. Chapter 2. Solipsism. You are the only reality. Now we come to an even deeper question. Perhaps only your perceptions are not real. Perhaps other people are not real either. Perhaps you are the only consciousness in the universe, and everything is a creation of your mind. This is called solipsism. And according to this philosophy, the human mind has no valid reason to believe that anything exists outside of itself. This is an extremely radical view. But who knows? Perhaps despite the vastness of the universe, only you exist and everything else is an embellishment, an illusion, a product of your imagination. The problem of other minds. Here is the fundamental principle of solipsism, the problem of other minds. That is, you directly experience your own consciousness. You know that you think, feel, and exist, but you do not directly experience the consciousness of others. You assume they think and feel like you because they act like you. They cry, they laugh, and they talk. But these behaviors are not proof of consciousness. They are merely behaviors, because theoretically, an unconscious robot could act the same way, pretend to cry, appear happy, but have no experience, no emotion, no consciousness within it, and you would never know this because you could never enter its mind. Cogito, ergo sum. In his famous quote, Descartes said, "Cogito ergo sum." I think, therefore I am. And this is the only certain knowledge, because even if you try to imagine that you do not exist, the act of imagining proves your existence. That is, you cannot doubt your own existence. Even trying to doubt shows that you exist. But Descartes stopped there. He did not delve into solipsism. Yet the logical conclusion is this. If the only thing you know for certain is your own existence, you can doubt everything else. Other people may be an illusion. The world may be a dream. The past may be an illusion of a moment. The future may never come, and only the present. This thinking consciousness remains. 3. Solipsistic scenarios. If solipsism is true, there are 3 possible scenarios. The first scenario is a simulation. You are inside a computer program, and the people around you are code, NPCs, non-player characters, programmed to act like you, but they have no consciousness. The question is, who created this simulation? Why did they create it? What is your role? And what is the real world like? The second scenario is an experiment. You are the last human survivor, and everyone around you are unconscious automatons, biological robots. They look, talk, and cry like humans, but they have no experience within them. The question is, who is running this experiment? What are their goals? And when will you wake up? The third scenario is a dream. You are currently dreaming, and everything you see is a product of your own mind. The entire universe around you, all the people, all history, comes from your imagination. And one day, you will wake up, perhaps as a butterfly in the real world, imagining yourself as a human. The second scenario is a dream. You are currently dreaming, and everything you see is a product of your own mind. The entire universe around you, all people, all history, comes from your imagination. And one day, you will wake up, perhaps as a butterfly in the real world, imagining yourself as a human. The analogy. Argument. The most frequent objection to solipsism is the analogy argument. You belong to the human species. You have a body, you have emotions, you have thoughts, And when you observe others, you see that they also possess the same characteristics. Therefore, the logical conclusion is that they are also conscious like you. Furthermore, you are a social being. Others raised you, taught you language, served as role models. You are not alone. However, from a solipsist point of view, this argument is invalid because physical characteristics and behaviors are not proof of consciousness. Similarly, you can attribute consciousness to a wooden table, but that does not make it conscious. Therefore, similarity is not a guarantee of consciousness. Your only guarantee is your own consciousness because you experience it directly. Chapter 3. Who are you? But now we come to the real question. What is this consciousness? This thing you call I? Where and when did it begin? When will it end? And most importantly, is the person listening now the same person who listened yesterday? Because your cells are constantly changing, your thoughts are changing, even your memories are changing. And if everything is changing, there is no fixed you, only a constantly flowing process. The Theseus's ship. Paradox. There is an old paradox. Theseus's ship is used for years, and every broken plank is replaced with a new one, until eventually all the planks are replaced. The question is this still the same ship or a different ship? And if we collect the old planks and build another ship, which one will be the real Theseus ship? Now apply this to yourself. The cells in your body are completely renewed every 7 years. Your thoughts change every second. Your personality transforms over the years. So are you the same person you are now as you were 7 years ago? Or are you just different entities bearing the same name? And if you are different, which one is the real you, or neither? Buddhism, and a not-a-Buddhist philosophy, offers a radical answer to this question. Anatta, the doctrine of selflessness. According to Buddhism, there is no fixed, permanent, unchanging self. What you call self is merely a temporary collection of 5 skandhas: body, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. And all of these are constantly changing, flowing. None are fixed. Therefore, nothing remains of the self, only a process, like a river. You call the river the same river, but its water is constantly changing. You can never step into the same river twice because both the river and you are changing. Sleep and death. Every night when you sleep, you die in a sense because consciousness is interrupted. Experience ceases. You disappears, and you reappear when you wake up in the morning. But you cannot prove whether this is truly the same you or a new consciousness with memories of your previous self, because it may be an illusion of continuity. Perhaps the you who slept last night died, and this morning you were recreated from scratch with all your memories, and you can never know for sure. Similarly, perhaps the you who is reading this right now will die in a minute, and a new you will take your place with the memories of the previous minute, and this happens constantly. You die and are reborn every moment, but you don't notice it because the memories persist. The illusion of free will. And if there is no fixed self, then there is no free will either, because free will requires a decision-making subject. So who makes the decisions? A constantly changing collection of thoughts? Then decisions are only the result of previous conditions, the firing of neurons, chemical reactions, the influence of past experiences, and you do not control them. They control you. Benjamin Libet's famous experiment showed that the brain prepares before making a decision. Brain activity begins 0.5 seconds before conscious decision-making, That is, the unconscious process begins before your conscious decision. So who makes the decision? You or your brain? And if your brain makes the decision, who are you? The observer? Paradox. In quantum mechanics, there is the observer paradox. Before being observed, the particle is in an uncertain state, both here and there. But when observed, its wave function collapses, and the particle becomes certain. The question is, who is the observer? And what happens if the observer is observed? You are observing the world, but who is observing you? And if there is no observer, are you also uncertain? Perhaps you are also a wave function, an entity that collapses when observed, that is real. But when not observed, that is in a blurry, uncertain, potential state. So when you look in the mirror, are you really seeing yourself, or a version of yourself that appears at the moment of observation? Do you really know who you are? The answer is no, because there's no such thing as a real you, only a constantly changing process. Perceptions, thoughts, memories, emotions, and none of these are static. You is a name, a label, an illusion, just like the name of a river. You call it the Nile, but different waters flow every second. So what you call the Nile is just a concept, not a physical reality, and neither are you. You have a name, but you are not real, at least not in the sense of being fixed, permanent, unchanging. As Zhuangzi asked, am I Zhuangzi or a butterfly? The answer is neither one nor the other. Because these questions are wrong, they assume a fixed identity, whereas there is no fixed identity, only flow, change, continuous becoming. And that's why you're watching this video, because you feel something is missing. The question, who am I, bothers you. And the answer is, you are not.